Hey everyone, this is Devraj here, and in this video, I'm going to talk about polyfills. This is one of the most asked interview questions, even in 2025. And if you are a JavaScript developer or if you are a front-end engineer, then you must be using map quite often, especially if you're dealing with arrays. So before going ahead with how to write the polyfill of map, uh, let me first tell you how map works, and then we'll be going ahead with how the polyfill for map works. Okay. So before going further ahead, so I have taken an array here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And before going ahead with map, first we need to know what is map. Okay. And map is basically a function. Okay. Which by default JavaScript gives in out of the browser in the newer environments. And okay, one more thing is map basically always creates and returns a new array. Okay, so whenever it's returning a new array, it does not modify the array itself where you are performing the map operation. So suppose if I'm performing map operation here, then it will not modify this. So map is kind immutable. Okay. Second is map takes in a callback function. Okay, if you don't know what callback function is, then you can check out the video in my description. I'll be giving you a link, and you can click on that and watch the video. So map takes in a callback function, and this callback function takes in three parameters. Okay, so first parameter is the value. So map. Okay, one more thing before going ahead. Map takes in a callback function, and map iterates over each element of the array. Iterates over each element of the array. So these are some of the key functionalities of map, like how map works. This kind of defines map as a whole, and the callback function which map takes in as a parameter. That callback function accepts three values. Okay, one is the value itself, which is the array value when you are iterating through the array. So the current index you are at, that value it is referring. Second one is an optional parameter, which is index, which is again an optional parameter. And third one is the array itself. Okay, this is also optional. So the mandatory parameter for a map to work is the value. So you need to access that value, like whenever you are in some position at the array, you need to access that value. That is mandatory. Okay. Now, so how map works? Basically, whenever you are trying to transform your array or you are going to do some operation on each element of the array, you use map. And you don't want to modify the actual array. So that is one of the ideal use cases of using a map. Okay. So suppose in this example, like suppose, let me give you an example. Like suppose if you want to multiply each element of this array by 2, that is one of the classic examples of map. So let me take a variable multiply by 2, as map always returns an array. Okay, so I need to store it in some variable. And now I will perform the map operation. Okay, this is map. Now if you see, this is also telling me like I'm doing it on code sandbox, and code sandbox is also telling me that okay, the callback function takes in the value, the index, and the array itself. Okay, so how do you write a callback function? Okay, if you don't know, then you can check out my video. So I am taking in a callback function and doing something. One mistake that beginners usually do is basically they forget to return from the map. If you are not using implicit return, like suppose if you are not doing something like this, maybe doing some operation here, then that is fine. But if you are going to give curly braces, then you need to make sure that you are going to use the return statement. Okay, that is one of the major mistakes that beginners usually do. Okay, as I said, the callback function usually takes in three parameters. One is value, second one is index, optional. I can give it or not give it. That is upon you, whether you have some transformation that you want to do with the index. Maybe you need the index, I don't know, you might need it for some reason. But for our case, which is in this example multiply by 2, I don't need the index, I just need the values. Okay, so this is the value and index and the array. Now here you want to return value into 2. Okay, this is as simple as it gets. Now if I print it out, new array maybe, and I'm just printing it out. Okay. And if you see the result in my console here, check this out. All the elements of the array has been multiplied by 2 now. Okay. And this is how map works. Now, suppose if you want to do something with the index, maybe some kind of operation where you are doing this, then this will also work. Now, the mistake that I was talking about, if you don't keep the curly braces here, and okay, and then maybe you do something like this, okay, you forget this, I'm not returning anything, then it will give me undefined for everything, for every position of the array. See, okay, this is all undefined. So this won't be working. And if you are going to do this, then this will work because this is implicit return. Now I can do this. Yeah, see. So I am not giving the return statement, but I'm not also giving the curly braces here. So this is called implicit return, and this is JavaScript new arrow function feature. If you don't know about it, so just go read it out and you will know. And again, I usually prefer the return statement. So I just do it like this. Okay. Now this works just as fine. Now let us go to the polyfill. Suppose, as I said, now you know how map works. Okay. Now you want to write your own custom map. And to do that, what you need to do, okay, let me go through it. So I'm just going to comment out this code because we'll be needing this later for different purpose. Now, suppose you want to write your own map function and you want that feature to be available inside any array object. Okay. So you need to make sure that you reference to the array object. Then you go to this property. There is a property called prototype. The array object has this property, and inside this you define your own custom function. I can name it Devraj as well. Okay, my name. But I just for the sake of usual convention, we usually name it like this, my map. Okay. So this is going to be a function. As I said, map is a function. Okay. And it, okay. So what was the second step? Map creates and returns a new array. Okay. So it does not modify the existing array. Okay. So let me create a new array, maybe this one. Okay. And I'm going to return it. Now it iterates over each element of the array. Okay. So to iterate, I need to have the length of my main array where I'm calling my function from. So suppose here in this example, I am calling array.map, arr.map. So I need to have the context of the length of this arr, right? And how can I get that in a prototype property of array object, right? So you can refer to that by using the this keyword in JavaScript. Okay. So let us take the length, which is this dot length. Here, this refers to the array. So whenever you are going to use the map function or your own custom map function on some array, that array is going to be referred by this. So this is basically the array. You can consider that ARR. So this is ARR dot length, or you can visualize it like that. Okay. Now I will be iterating through this. Okay, this is normal for loop. And here what you want to do is you want to execute the callback function on each element. And how can you access each element? Okay, let me show you. So current element using this add. Okay, as I said, this is basically ARR now. Okay, and here you need to have the callback function. Okay, because as I said, map takes in a callback function. So this will be a function, and here I'll be passing a callback function, and this callback function I will execute on each element. Okay, and to do this, you can do it something like this: res.push. This is my callback function, and what does callback function takes? Value, index, and array, right? So what is my value here now? Current element, right? What is my index? I. And what is my array? This. Okay. Now this should be working just as fine. Now let me show you how it is going to work. Now, instead of using this arr.map, I am going to use my map, the function that I implemented. Now see, I just did this. I'm running it again. Okay. Let me run it again. This is going to work. See, this worked just as fine as it was working. So if I remove the index, this is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now there is one case that I didn't handle, which is suppose if there is a sparse element, if an element is undefined, if the array is sparse array. Suppose if this is a sparse array, then it will be showing you nan. But maybe you don't want to have this nan as a value in your array. Maybe you want to skip nan values, right? So how do you do that? You can do it using this object.hasOwn. This is an object property where you can check if this element is defined or not in this array. So I'll be saying this I, then only I'll push it. Now see, the result changed from 2, 4, 6, nan 10 to 2, 4, 6, 10. The nan has been removed now. So this is how you can handle a sparse array. Or you can also check like if I is undefined, this I is undefined, like that also. But this is the modern way of checking if that element exists in the array and if that is defined. Then only you perform the operation and push them back. So this is how a map works. And this is how you can write a map polyfill as well. So if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe or like to this video, share it with your friends. And I hope it gave you an in-depth description of how map works. I hope you gain the knowledge of how to handle sparse arrays as well. And I hope that you now know that when to use map and when not. Okay, one more thing. So ForEach is also there. So you might be considering that why am I using map instead of ForEach? So basically ForEach is going to modify your array. And in case you don't want to modify your original array, then you can always go with map, right? It gives you out of the box feature for that. Otherwise you need to make a duplicate array, you need to perform that operation and all that, right? So this kind of saves your time, and this is how modern array transformation works, you can say. And I think this covers pretty much it. Have a good day. See you in the next video.